Have you ever noticed how some people seem to get genuine satisfaction from testing your limits? They interrupt you mid-sentence. They deliver cutting remarks dressed up as jokes. They behave as if your time and your feelings are somehow optional, and they expect you to smile and carry on as if nothing happened. Well, that ends here. If you are tired of tolerating disrespect like it is something normal, like it is just the way things are, this video is for you. Today, I am going to walk you through 6 direct and, in some ways, unconventional ways to handle people who do not respect you, without losing your composure, without stooping to their level, and most importantly, without giving up an inch of your dignity. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to make it clear to anyone, without aggression, without drama, where your line is. Before we start, I want to ask you one thing. Share your experience in the comments. How do you handle disrespect when it comes at you? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Now, let's begin. 1. Emotional control is the strongest response, and it drives manipulators out of their minds. There is an almost universal expectation that when someone provokes or disrespects you, you are supposed to respond immediately. Reacting fast seems instinctive, a way to defend yourself, to assert yourself, to show that you will not be pushed around. But who decided you have to play by those rules? An immediate reaction is a risk, because in those moments, emotion takes over. Anger, frustration, wounded pride, these feelings distort your thinking and push you toward responses you will later regret. And that is exactly what someone who disrespects you wants to see. You losing your balance, reacting on emotion, and then carrying the embarrassment of what you said. By choosing not to react immediately, you rise above the situation. This is a quiet but powerful statement. You operate on your own timing, not theirs. Think of an experienced chess player who never rushes, even when the opponent is pressing. He knows that every move must be deliberate. By maintaining his rhythm, he becomes unreachable. Demonstrating emotional intelligence in these moments is not weakness. It is strategy. It is taking a step back to see the full picture before deciding whether and how to respond. And in that pause, you often discover the most powerful response of all. No response at all. When someone provokes you and you do not react, you communicate something that cannot be easily argued with, that what they did was too insignificant to deserve your energy. You become the wall that does not shake when the wind pushes against it. Try it. The next time someone tries to unsettle you, let the silence speak first. If you decide to respond, do so with clarity and purpose. If it is not worth the effort, walk away and do not look back. Real strength is in choosing when to respond, and especially when not to. 2. The power of the silent gaze. Let me tell you about one of my favorite and most effective techniques. The silent gaze. You may be thinking right now, seriously, just look at them? Yes. And believe me, when someone behaves rudely or dismissively, nothing disorients them quite like a long, calm, completely neutral gaze held in complete silence. Why does it work? Because the person being disrespectful is always looking for a reaction. They want you to stumble, get angry, maybe retaliate. They want to pull you into their drama, make you doubt yourself, make you feel smaller. But when you simply look and say nothing, when you show not even a flicker of emotion, the dynamic shifts instantly. I know it can sound like passive aggression, but listen carefully. There is something deeply unsettling about a person who does not respond the way they are expected to. When you hold a steady, silent gaze, you are saying without words, "I am not playing your game." It is a way of reclaiming your space, your composure, and your dignity, without lifting a finger. And very often, that gaze is the clearest and strongest no you can give. Let me share a moment when this technique worked exactly the way it should. I was in a group meeting where one person kept interrupting me constantly. One of those types, loud, inflated confidence, acting as if everyone should stop and listen to their brilliance. I tried politely redirecting. I tried being measured. He kept going. So I simply looked at him, leaned back in my chair, arms folded, and held his gaze, no expression, no blinking, for about 5 seconds without saying a word. The tension was immediate. Everyone at the table noticed. And here is what happened. He became visibly uncomfortable. He started stumbling over his words. His eyes went everywhere except toward me. He did not interrupt me again that day. More than that, his whole manner shifted into something much more respectful. The silent gaze is not only a technique for asserting yourself. When you sit still, stay quiet, and refuse to move, you remind both yourself and the other person that their words and actions hold no power over you. And this shift does not just change the dynamic. It strengthens your own sense of self. Because each time you respond with stillness instead of reaction, you confirm something important to yourself. I do not need to defend myself to anyone. 3. When silence is your most powerful answer. Here is a secret that most people significantly underestimate. Silence. When someone disrespects you, one of the most powerful responses available to you is simply not responding. I know what you are thinking. Silence looks passive, like you are letting the other person win. But here is the truth. Silence is not passivity. It is a choice. And sometimes it is the bravest and most decisive response you can give. When someone throws negativity at you, they are genuinely trying to pull you into their drama, to make you feel worse, to put you on the defensive. But when you do not engage, when you let their words hang in the air without acknowledgement, you force them to sit alone with what they just said. And that silence lands louder than any reply. Why does this work so well? Because someone who disrespects you is typically expecting a reaction. They want conflict, justification, or at minimum, some confirmation that their behavior affected you. But silence says, I am not giving you my energy. When you do not respond, you hold control of the interaction and make one thing perfectly clear. I am not here to validate your disrespect. Sometimes the most powerful form of communication is simply not communicating. It is a quiet, understated message that says, this person is not worth my time or my words. And it is not just about managing the situation, it is about protecting your energy. Silence is a filter. It keeps your peace intact by refusing entry to the negativity someone else is trying to throw at you. I was not always good at this. For a long time, I felt that if I did not defend myself, I would look weak, like I was accepting the treatment. But I started to notice a consistent pattern. Every time I responded to disrespect, I felt drained, irritated, and worse. Every time I held back, let the words pass like background noise, I felt lighter, stronger, more centered. As if each time I chose silence over reaction, I reclaimed a piece of myself. Here is the challenge for you. The next time someone starts to disrespect you, stop, breathe, look at them, and say nothing. Let your silence speak. You will be surprised how uncomfortable it makes them, and how free it makes you. Because in that moment of choosing not to react, you are choosing yourself. 4. Your life does not come with a commentary track. How many times have you made a decision for yourself, and immediately someone materialized to interrogate you? Why did you do that? Why didn't you go to that event? Why did you choose that job? Why did you leave? People behave as though they have the right to demand explanations for every step you take. But here is the truth. They do not. Your decisions are yours. You do not owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. This may sound radical, but let us look at the reality. When someone questions your choices, in most cases, they are not trying to understand. They are trying to judge, find flaws, make you doubt yourself, or feel better about their own choices by comparison. And here is the point. You do not have to participate in that dynamic. When you stop explaining yourself, you take back your autonomy. You declare, "My life is not open for voting." Let me tell you about a time I changed career paths, left a stable position for something I genuinely cared about, even though it was far riskier. The moment people found out, it felt like I had announced I was moving to another planet. The questions came immediately. Why would you leave a safe job? How are you going to manage? At first, I tried to explain, talked about wanting meaning, about having a plan. But I realized quickly that no matter how much I explained, it was never enough. The more I elaborated, the more they probed, found holes, and left me feeling as though I had something to prove. So one day, I changed my approach. Someone asked why I had left the job, and I said simply, "Because I wanted to." No details, no plan, no report. And you know what? It was exactly right. The silence after that answer said more than anything I could have elaborated. People did not know how to respond because I had removed their ability to evaluate my decisions. Over time, they simply stopped asking. That is the beauty of not explaining yourself. It is liberating. It is accepting your own truth. Understanding that your decisions carry value because you made them, not because someone else approved them. When you stop justifying your choices, you allow yourself to live a genuine life, without the weight of other people's expectations. You stop spending energy trying to convince others, and you redirect it toward the life you actually chose. Your life does not need collective approval. When you stop explaining, you declare, "I trust my own decisions enough not to need your validation." 5. Do not override your own limits for anyone. Let us be honest. Sometimes the most effective way to deal with people who do not respect you is simply to keep your distance. This may sound harsh, maybe even cold. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone deserves a prominent place in your life. If someone consistently demonstrates disrespect, one of the healthiest things you can do is give yourself space from them. This does not mean you hate them or that you are being dramatic. It means you respect yourself enough to protect your own peace. Maintaining distance is not about ignoring someone or being cruel. It is about choosing where to direct your energy. Imagine your life as an exclusive club with limited access. Not everyone gets a VIP pass. If someone consistently crosses your limits, makes you feel lesser, or brings a persistent negativity, why should they be there at all? Distance is not a bad thing. It gives you clarity. It allows you to see a situation for what it actually is, without the fog of guilt or emotional manipulation. Think about what happens when you keep people near you who do not respect you. It is like leaving your front door wide open to anyone who wants to come in and criticize everything they see. You end up exhausted, anxious, irritated, and then wonder why. Creating distance is an act of self-preservation. It is about protecting your mental health, maintaining your inner calm, and making space for the people who genuinely do respect you. Releasing guilt around creating distance can be one of the most transformative things you do. You are not obligated to keep people in your life who diminish you. Here is something from my own experience. I had a friend who always found a way to make a cutting remark about something: my decisions, my career, my preferences. At first, I told myself, that's just how he is, or maybe I'm too sensitive. So I kept the friendship going, choosing not to react. But over time, those small jabs started to land. I noticed I was walking carefully around him, bracing for the next one. So I tried something different. No drama, no confrontation. I simply started limiting the time I spent with him. Instead of weekly, maybe once a month. And the relief I felt was immediate. In the space I created, the clarity arrived. This friendship was not serving me. I deserved connections that lifted me, not ones that chipped away at me. Here is your question. Which people in your life are consistently disrespecting you, leaving you feeling smaller or more drained? Ask yourself honestly, do they actually deserve that kind of access to you? 6. Keep your head up. It is your most powerful response to contempt. This may sound like simple advice, but when you are dealing with someone who disrespects you, it is one of the most powerful things you can do. When someone shows contempt, their goal is to make you feel small, to make you doubt yourself, to lower your gaze, shrink your presence, reduce your sense of worthiness. But when you stand straight, head up, and say nothing, you send a message that cannot easily be answered. I know exactly who I am, and nothing you say or do is going to change that. Confidence is deeply uncomfortable for people who rely on contempt. They operate on the assumption that their words and behavior can affect you, can somehow control you. But when you refuse to let that happen, when you literally stand straight with your head held high, you show them that they have no authority over you. You are immovable. And the people who feed on belittling others do not know what to do with someone who will not be belittled. It disarms them. It confuses them. It forces them to face their own behavior, and most cannot withstand that confrontation. I remember a specific situation with someone who, every time we met, would throw a small dig, always with a sarcastic smile, always wrapped in a joke, always with just enough plausible deniability that calling it out felt difficult. For a long time I tried to ignore it, but it landed. I would tense up before seeing them. I was already bracing before anything even happened. Then one day, I made a different decision. I showed up with my shoulders back and my head level. Every time they launched their remark, I simply met their eyes, allowed myself a quiet smile and moved on, as if the comment were simply background noise. Nothing to acknowledge, nothing to be moved by. And something shifted. They started to pull back, as if they sensed that their words no longer had any effect, that their whole performance was going unnoticed. And gradually, all of it stopped. There is something magnetic about keeping your head up. It is an invisible shield that says, "I am untouchable." And here is the truth. People who disrespect others usually cannot stand to see genuine confidence in someone. It breaks the picture they have painted in their mind, the one where they are in control. And when you walk in completely grounded in who you are, that picture falls apart. Keeping your head up is not about physical posture alone. It is a mental stance. Enter any room as if you belong there, because you do. Do not make yourself smaller to fit inside someone else's idea of you. When someone makes a dismissive comment, let it pass. They do not see who you really are. They are simply projecting their own uncertainty. Here is the challenge. The next time someone shows contempt, whether through a subtle dig or a direct attack, do not react. Breathe slowly, straighten your posture, and hold your gaze steady. Look at them as if to say, "I see you, and I am above this." And feel the strength that comes from knowing. Their words have no power over you. Keeping your head up is more than a posture. It is a silent declaration of self-respect. It says, "I know who I am. I value myself. And nothing you say will change that." Because in the end, respect begins with you. And the more you respect yourself, the less room you leave for anyone else's contempt to take hold. If you have made it here, share in the comments. Which of these strategies felt most relevant to your situation? Or simply write, "My self-respect is stronger than any provocation. I am Stoic." I look forward to hearing your stories. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share this with someone who needs it. Your support is what allows this content to keep reaching the people who are ready for it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time and attention. I wish you strength, clarity, and confidence in every step ahead. I will see you in the next one. There comes a point in life when you grow tired of chasing people who do not value you, tired of comparing yourself, tired of looking for approval, tired of forcing yourself into spaces where you were never meant to belong. And then something shifts. You wake up, and you begin to understand something you could not see before. Real strength is not about convincing the world of your worth. Real strength is what you do with yourself when no one is watching. Without explanation. Without performance. Just moving forward day after day in silence. I am not here today to tell you to go change the world. I am here to remind you that everything starts with you. Real change does not come from the outside. It is born within. The Stoics understood this better than anyone, because the person who has learned to find stillness within themselves no longer needs to control what lies beyond it. In this video, you will discover 8 Stoic lessons that will help you focus on yourself, grow in silence, and stop spending your energy on things that are not yours to carry. These are not just words. These are reminders that have the power to change your life. Stay with me until the end, because this video did not reach you by accident. This is a message meant for you, arriving at exactly the moment you needed it most. Before we begin, I want to ask you to do something simple but powerful. Go to the comments and write this. Real change begins within me. I am a Stoic. Writing those words is not just a gesture. It is a quiet declaration of loyalty to yourself. Now, let us begin. Lesson 1. Recognize your own worth. Listen carefully. Before the world placed a label on you, before anyone told you that you were not enough, before the comparisons, the rejections, the quiet moments of self-doubt, you were already worthy. Not because of what you had achieved, not because of who approved of you, not because you outperformed someone else. You were worthy simply because you existed. But no one teaches us this. We are raised with the belief that our value is tied to what we produce, how much applause we receive, or how many people choose us. And this is precisely where the damage begins, because we grow up emotionally dependent on others, waiting for someone to hand us the one thing only we can give ourselves: recognition. Marcus Aurelius understood this clearly. He wrote that a person's true wealth lives in their soul, not in what others think of them. When you do not recognize your own worth, you live like someone begging at a table that was always yours. You wait for scraps of love, attention, and affirmation, when in truth, you have always carried everything you need. Think of a seed. From the outside, it looks small, insignificant. But inside that seed is an oak tree, strong, deep-rooted, built to endure storms. Your courage is the same. It may not always be visible, but it is there, waiting to be recognized not by others, but by you. It does not grow from applause. It grows from self-acceptance. Remember, a Stoic does not lose themselves over the opinion of others, because they know their character lives not in what people say, but in how they act. Eleanor Roosevelt once said that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Even beyond Stoicism, this truth holds. You decide whether the thoughts of others lift you or hold you down. You decide whether to focus on what you lack or on what you already are. Do not forget yourself. Do not make yourself wait for someone else's permission. Make peace with your story, with your wounds, with your process. Everything you have lived through has brought you here. Perhaps you needed this reminder. Perhaps today is the day to stop searching for confirmation outside of yourself and instead look at your own reflection. No audience, no performance, and say quietly, I am not perfect, but I am on my way, and that is already enough. Say it not for anyone else, say it for yourself, in silence, without proof, without explanation. Let your inner energy speak for you, without a single word. Lesson 2. Discover what real self-love means. But not the kind that is marketed to you on social media. Here is a truth that almost no one speaks out loud. Real self-love is not indulgence. It is not a carefully filtered photograph with a motivational caption underneath. It is not the soft, glowing version of yourself that performs healing for an audience. Real self-love is honesty. It is discipline. It is the ability to sit with yourself during the hardest moments without abandoning who you are. Real self-love is not always comfortable. Sometimes it looks like a silent struggle with everything you once believed about yourself. You were taught to love others, to care, to give, to accommodate. But no one taught you how to return to yourself, how to listen to yourself, how to hold yourself, especially when you feel like you are not enough. Real self-love is deep. It is quiet. It is brave. Imagine that you are an ocean. From the surface, others can see your waves. sometimes calm, sometimes rough. But no one except you can dive to the bottom. Down there live your fears, your wounds, your memories, your forgotten dreams. Exploring self-love means having the courage to dive deep, not to judge what you find, but to understand it, not to fix it immediately, but to accept it, to welcome all of yourself, both the light and the shadow. The Stoics did not use the phrase self-love, but they lived it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul takes on the color of its thoughts. In other words, what you think about yourself becomes your inner reality. If you speak to yourself harshly, you become cold from the inside. But if you cultivate thoughts of dignity about yourself, you become stronger and more at peace. True self-love is born when you no longer need someone else to confirm your worth. When you recognize yourself, even when no one is clapping. When you choose to care for yourself not to please others, but because you understand deeply that you matter. You do not need grand rituals. Just stop. Pause. Listen to yourself without judgment. Ask yourself, what do I need today? Which part of myself am I ignoring? What words would I want to hear? And why am I not saying them to myself? Start with small, honest actions. Sleep well. Say no when something drains you. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Surround yourself with what genuinely nourishes you, and move away from what exhausts you. That too is self-love. Perhaps no one has told you this enough lately, but you are worth it. Not because of what you do, not because of what you own, but simply because you exist. If no one has reminded you of this recently, I am here to remind you now. You deserve to be treated well. Not only when things are going smoothly, but especially when you feel most broken inside. Do not wait for the world to recognize your value. Begin with yourself, and do it quietly, deliberately, every single day. Because no one else will ever live inside you, only you. Lesson 3. Protect your time and your solitude. We live in a world that makes us feel guilty for being alone. If you do not reply immediately, if you go quiet for a few days, if you choose to stay in instead of going out, something must be wrong with you. That is the unspoken message. But let me tell you something important. Solitude is not a punishment. It is a privilege. And time is the most sacred resource you have. Most of us race from one thing to the next, as if life is an endless to-do list. But when was the last time you were truly alone with yourself, and it did not frighten you? Imagine your mind as a lake. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, urgency, and distraction, that lake becomes unsettled, turbulent. You cannot see through it. But when you choose stillness and solitude, the water calms. And only then can you see all the way to the bottom. That is where you actually find yourself, not in the noise, but in the silence. Seneca said it plainly. The problem is not that we have too little time. The problem is that we waste too much of it. And this is true. We spend our lives worrying about what we do not have, while barely noticing what actually belongs to us. This moment, this breath, this day. Consider a common morning. You wake up, reach for your phone before you have even fully opened your eyes. Endless scrolling, notifications. 2 hours pass. You still have not eaten, you have not made any real progress, and your mind is already full of emotional noise that does not belong to you. And the most serious loss is not the 2 hours. It is the presence, the awareness, and the quiet strength you gave away before the day even began. Now imagine using that same time differently. Writing down what you feel. Walking alone, without a destination. Thinking. Not planning, not optimizing, just allowing yourself to feel that you are alive. I know that silence can hurt sometimes. I know that being alone can feel frightening. But I also know this. Fear is a doorway. And on the other side of it is a stronger, more grounded, freer version of you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that perfect peace lives in the good ordering of the mind, in your own inner kingdom. And that kingdom is built in solitude, without crowds, without applause, just you and your time. Begin to honor it. Make your time a temple and your solitude an ally. Because only when you learn to be honest with yourself in silence will you become truly unshakable. Lesson 4. Be ready to walk away. There is a truth that is difficult to accept, but necessary. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some people come to teach you something. Some come to keep you company for a season. And some come only to show you what you do not deserve. But there comes a moment when growing up becomes painful, because growing up also means walking away. Not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of respect for your own peace, your energy, and your process. The people closest to you shape the quality of your inner life. Stay close to those who lift your spirit, and gently, quietly, put distance between yourself and those who pull you downward. This may sound harsh, but consider what happens when you stay in the wrong environment. The soul does not flourish from hunger or cold air. It is drained by people, by those who dim your light, who draw out your peace, who make you feel like you have to fight just to be seen. Imagine you are a plant. Like any living thing, you need sunlight, water, and space to grow. But if someone places you in a corner where no light reaches, or floods your roots until you begin to drown, or crowds you so tightly that you cannot stretch, you will wither. It is not weakness that causes this. It is simply the wrong environment. The same is true for you. Choosing to walk away from what will not let you grow is not selfishness. It is emotional survival. I am certain this has happened to you. You pour everything you have into someone. You send the messages, you offer the plans, you show up with support. And on the other side, silence. Or worse, half answers and lukewarm energy. And you find ways to excuse their distance, convincing yourself that this is just how people are, that you should accept it. But here is what you need to understand. You were never meant to force your presence into someone else's life. Real connection is never begged for. Real respect is never extracted. It is either offered freely, or it is not there. And when it is not there, it is time to create space for those who genuinely value your existence. The Stoics practiced what they called apatheia, not emotional numbness, but freedom from what lies outside your control. You cannot control how others love you. You cannot control whether they stay or go, whether they see you or overlook you. But you can control this: your decision to remain somewhere that makes you feel less than yourself. And in that, you must be completely honest with yourself. Not every connection is healthy. Not every declaration of love is genuine. Not every "I am here for you" is real. Sometimes, to find yourself again, you must let go of certain people. Not because you stopped caring, but because you are needed more by yourself. Walk away not in bitterness, but in peace. Not with resentment, but with quiet self-respect. Because life is too short to remain in places where your presence is taken for granted, where your light is minimized, where your soul contracts instead of expands. And yes, at first it will hurt. But then you let go, you breathe, and you remember who you are. Lesson 5. Become emotionally self-sufficient. There is a kind of freedom that very few people ever discover. It is not found in money. It is not found in travel or in having thousands of people around you. This freedom is born on the day you become enough for yourself. The day you stop depending emotionally on someone else's approval. The day you no longer need applause to keep moving forward. That is the day you become truly free. Deep within you, there is a source that will never run dry, if you learn to use it. That source is you. Your integrity, your inner strength, your ability to rise when life shakes you. Think of a lighthouse. It stands at the edge of everything, surrounded by storms, wind, and darkness. But it never stops shining. It does not care whether the sea is calm or violent. It does not need the approval of passing ships to turn its light on. It simply does what it was built to do: guide, illuminate, stand. That is what it means to be emotionally self-sufficient. To know who you are, to understand your worth, and to keep your light on, even when no one acknowledges it. There have been days when you gave more than you received. Days when you lived on hope and were left with nothing. You listened, you showed up, you were there, and when you needed someone, no one came. It is easy in those moments to collapse, to feel crushed, to ask, "What is wrong with me?" But that is precisely the lesson. You cannot allow your sense of worth to rise and fall based on how others treat you. Your peace cannot be a toy in someone else's hands. You did not come here to beg for emotional scraps. The respect you are searching for begins with you. The security you are looking for is born inside you. Epictetus was enslaved. Yet despite having no physical freedom, he became one of the greatest teachers of inner freedom that has ever existed. He made clear that the only truly free person is not the one who depends on no one, but the one who can honestly say, "I am enough." And what does that mean in practice? It means you can be alone without feeling empty. It means you can face rejection without it breaking you. It means you can enjoy good company as a gift, not a lifeline. When you become emotionally self-sufficient, no one has the power to collapse you. You become like a strong tree that no longer trembles at every wind. You no longer need to belong to anyone, because you already belong to yourself. And from that wholeness, you can choose to love, to accompany, to share. Not because you are desperate for connection, but because you have decided to. Lesson 6. Learn to say no. It is just 2 letters. But understand this. It is one of the most important decisions you can make for yourself. Saying no is not selfishness. It is care. It is the art of protecting your energy. It is the quiet act of self-respect that happens the moment you decide your peace is worth more than pleasing everyone around you. I am sure this has happened to you. You are invited somewhere. You are exhausted. Your mind is asking for rest. but you feel the guilt rise up. I don't want to look difficult, you think. And so you go, wearing a smile that does not belong to you, giving what you do not have, all for the sake of keeping the peace. While inside, all you wanted was quiet. That is saying yes to everyone else and no to yourself. And when that becomes a habit, you begin to fade, slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing. Not even you. Remember, the person who tries to please everyone ultimately becomes controlled by everyone. We often confuse kindness with submission. But you did not come into this life to be an emotional doormat. You came here to grow, to learn, to live with intention. And for that, you need space. You need silence. You need the power of choice. When you say no, something changes. You earn respect, first from others, but most importantly from yourself. You reclaim time and energy for what actually matters. You become a more deliberate, focused, grounded person. Because saying no is a quiet act of courage and of freedom. Here is something worth sitting with. Every time you say yes to everyone without thought, you lose a small part of yourself. And if you do it too often, you forget who you are, what you want, and what you actually feel. Learning to say no does not mean building walls. It means building a sacred inner space, a kind of inner temple, a place where only what nourishes your soul is allowed to enter, a place where you decide who comes in, who stays, and what may no longer cross your threshold. So I want to leave you with this thought today. Do not be afraid of disappointing others if it means staying true to yourself. Because when you learn to say no, you are really saying yes. To yourself, lesson 7. Care for yourself inside and out. Take care of yourself. Not because the world demands it, not because someone is watching. Take care of yourself because you are worth it. Because your body is your home and your mind is your sanctuary. If you do not protect them, who will? We live in a world that teaches us to look outward. How you appear, what you own, what you have accomplished. But almost no one stops to ask, how is your soul doing? How do you speak to yourself when no one else is listening? How do you treat yourself in the quiet moments? The Stoics did not separate body from mind. For them, caring for one meant caring for both. Epictetus observed that no free person should be enslaved to their own body through neglect. And yet many of us are. We demand an enormous amount from ourselves mentally while forgetting the body. Or we push the body relentlessly while ignoring the quiet signals of the mind. Think of an archer. The body is the bow. The soul is the arrow. The purpose is the target. If the bow is warped or weakened, it does not matter how well crafted the arrow is, it will not fly far. And if you have a strong body but a hollow inner life, what is the point of the rest? Caring for yourself, inside and out, is the act of sharpening the soul and strengthening the body so that they move together in alignment. Think of the days when you eat poorly, when you sleep badly, when you skip movement, when you give yourself no stillness. And then you ask, why do I feel so low? Why can I not concentrate? Why does everything feel heavy? The answer is often found in the quiet neglect you have allowed. It was not punishment. It was a lack of attention to yourself. Caring for yourself is not only about doctor's appointments or exercise. It is also about putting down the phone when your mind needs rest. It is about stopping the harsh internal commentary. It is about saying to yourself, I'm here for me. I am not going to abandon myself anymore. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee. In the same way, what brings no benefit to you brings nothing of real value to the world. Because you cannot be a good friend, a good parent, a good partner, a good human being when you are empty, when you are exhausted, when you are running on fumes. Caring for yourself is not a luxury. It is a responsibility to yourself and to everyone your life touches. It means giving yourself what you need to remain steady, so that you can offer something real to others without collapsing in the process. You cannot build a strong life while neglecting the foundation. And the foundation is you, your habits, the way you speak to yourself, your relationship with your own body and mind. Caring for yourself inside and out is not vanity. It is a commitment. It is understanding that your energy, your focus, and your presence all depend on how you treat yourself when no one is watching. Make peace with your body, respect your mind, and never forget that your inner well-being shows up in everything you create on the outside. Lesson 8. Embrace your imperfections. Look at yourself in the mirror, not with judgment, not with criticism. Look at yourself with compassion. That line on your face, that old scar, that mistake you have not yet forgiven yourself for, that moment that broke you open, all of it is you. And do you know what? You do not need to hide it. You do not need to fix all of it. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be real. There is a Japanese practice called kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, it is not thrown away. It is repaired with gold. The cracks are not hidden, they are highlighted. The message is this: your wounds do not take away your value, they add to it. Because each one tells a story. Each one is proof that you kept going, that you chose to remain no matter what. Stoicism speaks to this same truth. It is not about becoming a machine without flaws. It is about becoming a stronger person because you acknowledge your flaws and integrate them, rather than running from them. How many times have you felt pressure to appear stronger than you are? To smile while you felt like you were coming apart inside? We wear masks so naturally that we barely notice anymore. And the irony is, everyone has their struggles. Everyone carries something hidden, but no one wants to show it. The result is that people feel deeply alone, unseen, disconnected. Real connection is born in the moment someone has the courage to say, I am not perfect either, but I am still here. Perhaps you made a mistake in the past, made a decision you regret, hurt someone or hurt yourself, and since then you have been carrying the weight of it, replaying it, asking yourself over and over, how could I have done that? But the past does not change under the force of self-condemnation. It transforms through awareness, through responsibility, and through a generous dose of honesty and self-compassion. This is not about excusing what happened. It is about using that experience as a lesson, not as a verdict. If something still hurts inside you, work through it. Grow, learn, and move forward. That is what it means to accept your imperfection, not to be stuck in who you were, but to let who you were become the foundation for who you are becoming. Accepting your imperfection is not surrender. It is maturity. It is understanding that you did not come here to be flawless. You came here to be genuine. When you release the need to appear perfect, something more powerful arrives. Peace. And when you accept yourself as you truly are, you quietly give others permission to do the same. So do not hide. Do not close yourself off. You are not a finished creation. Everything you are, everything you have lived, deserves to be seen. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear which of these 8 lessons speaks to you most right now. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If this kind of content genuinely helps you, subscribing and turning on notifications means you will not miss what comes next. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for your time and your trust. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Life is not gentle. It throws its hardest challenges at you precisely when you are least prepared. It is unpredictable, unsparing, and completely indifferent to your plans or desires. That is why most people drift with the current, hoping tomorrow will become easier. But tomorrow brings its own set of blows. And Stoicism says something different. Stop waiting for relief. Prepare to become stronger. Because only the person who accepts life without comfortable illusions can learn to govern themselves and hold a steady course even in the middle of a storm. Today we are going to explore 15 Stoic lessons that open your eyes. They are direct. They are honest. Some of them will be uncomfortable. But if you begin practicing them, your days will no longer feel like aimless wandering. They will feel like a field you are choosing to win. Before we begin, do 2 things. First, write in the comments right now, without overthinking it. Today I change my fate. I am stoic. Write it as a declaration to yourself. When you put an intention into words, you begin programming your consciousness towards strength. Second, subscribe to the channel and like this video. That is your way of supporting this community and confirming your own commitment to this path. Now, let's begin. 1. Nobody owes you anything. This is the hard truth most people spend their whole lives running from. We grow up with a belief that the world is supposed to be fair, that people are supposed to respect our feelings, that friends and family will always show up for us. But life keeps proving, again and again, that no one is obligated to do anything for you. And the faster you truly understand this, the less you will be disappointed. Think about how many times you felt hurt because someone did not call, did not help, did not appreciate your effort. But tell me, is there a law anywhere that requires other people to meet your expectations? There is not. That expectation is an illusion we find it convenient to hold, because it lets us avoid taking full responsibility for ourselves. Seneca wrote, "A person is unhappy to the degree that they believe things are owed to them." We create our own captivity when we wait for gratitude, praise, or rescue. And the worst version of this is expecting support from people who are barely holding themselves together. The truth is that you are the author of your own life. Other people have their own. The sooner you stop constructing your expectations around what others should give you, the more energy you will have for what you can actually build yourself. This is not bitterness. It is clarity. And clarity is one of the most valuable things a person can have. 2. Time is your only non-renewable resource. You can earn more money. You can rebuild your reputation. You can recover your health. But the hour you just spent, that is gone. No refund. No second chance. Seneca wrote, "The greatest loss of time is postponement. Life runs away drop by drop, in irresolution and procrastination. Every day you make 1,000 small choices about where your time goes. And the sum of those choices is what your life becomes." Most people treat time like it is infinite, spending it on things that offer nothing in return, numbing themselves with distraction, drifting through days without intention. But the Stoics treated time as the most sacred resource in existence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of it daily. Memento mori, remember that you will die. Not as a morbid thought, but as an alarm. A call to stop wasting the one thing you can never get back. Ask yourself honestly, what is the last hour you gave to something that truly mattered? And what would today look like if you spent it as if it were one of the last days you had? 3. Money will not solve the problems you are really dealing with. There is a persistent fantasy that if you just had more money, the anxiety would stop, the restlessness would settle. Life would finally make sense. But think of how many people with money are still empty, still anxious, still searching. Because the problems money solves are surface problems. The deeper ones, the fear that you are not enough, the feeling that something is missing, the sense that you are living someone else's life, those are not solved by anything external. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The Stoics understood that genuine inner peace comes from within, from self-knowledge, from living in alignment with your values, from working on what actually matters. Money is a useful tool. But it is a tool, not a solution. If you are using financial goals as a substitute for the work of actually knowing yourself and building a life of meaning, you will keep arriving at the money and finding it was not the answer after all. 4. Life is unfair, and the Stoic response is not what you expect. Life is not a meritocracy. Good people face terrible things. Hard work does not always get rewarded. Unfair things happen to fair people constantly and without explanation. This is not a temporary malfunction. This is the nature of existence. The question is not whether life will be fair to you. It won't, at least not consistently, and not on your timeline. The question is what you are going to do with that fact. Marcus Aurelius governed the Roman Empire during plagues, wars, betrayals, and constant pressure. He did not wait for the world to become fair. He focused entirely on the only thing he could control: his own response, his own character, his own clarity of purpose. You cannot control the cards. You can choose how you play them. Every moment you spend resenting what is unfair is a moment you are not using to build something worth having. The Stoic response to injustice is not rage, and it is not resignation. It is the quiet decision to act well, regardless. 5. You can do everything right and still lose, and this is important. This is one of the most difficult Stoic lessons to truly accept, because it removes the comfort of thinking that if you just try hard enough, prepare thoroughly enough, and do everything correctly, you are guaranteed the outcome you want. You are not. The outcome is never fully in your hands. What is in your hands? Your preparation, your effort, your character, your response to what happens after. A Stoic gives their best and then releases the outcome. Not because they do not care, but because they understand the difference between what belongs to them and what belongs to chance. This is actually liberating. When you accept that losing, despite your best effort, does not mean you failed as a person, you become able to try more freely, more fully, without the paralysis of fear. You can engage with full commitment and release with full composure. The Stoic does not measure their worth by whether they won. They measure it by whether they acted with integrity. 6. Love is not always returned. You can love with your whole heart and not have it met in kind. You can invest deeply in a relationship and have it end anyway. You can show up completely for someone who cannot show up for you. This is not evidence that you made a mistake in loving. This is the reality of human connection. People are at different places in their lives, with different capacities, different wounds, different definitions of what they can give. The Stoics do not advise closing your heart. They advise removing the expectation that love must be returned in the exact form you offered it. Love from a place of genuine choice, not from a need for reciprocation. Because love that requires a specific response in order to remain is not love, it is a transaction. And transactions fall apart when one side cannot deliver. Love fully. And hold the outcome with open hands. 7. Friendships drift apart. People change. Life moves in different directions. The friend who was central to your world a decade ago may now be someone you speak to once a year. Not because of failure, not because of betrayal, but because people grow along different paths. Marcus Aurelius warned against expecting permanence from anything. Every relationship is a season. Some last a lifetime. Many do not. Grieving a friendship that has faded is natural and human. Spending years bitter about the drift is a waste of the one resource you cannot recover. Honor what was real. Release what has shifted. Make room for the connections that are alive and present now. 8. People judge by results. You can explain your intentions, your circumstances, your challenges, your effort. But the world, by and large, responds to what it sees, to the outcome, to the product, to what you have built. This is not cruelty. It is a reality that the Stoics understood without resentment. Epictetus did not spend energy complaining that the world should evaluate effort rather than results. He focused on producing results that spoke for themselves. This does not mean you need external validation to feel worthy. It means understanding the rules of the world you are operating in. Put your best work into the world not to impress, but because your standard matters. The person who consistently shows up with excellence will eventually be impossible to ignore. 9. You are not as special as you were told. Many of us grew up hearing, "You are unique, you are extraordinary, you are meant for something great." And there is genuine kindness in those words. But adult life tends to reveal a different picture. The world is full of talented, intelligent, capable people. Each one believes in some way that they are extraordinary. And the harsh reality is that we are each less exceptional than we tend to believe, and that this is actually good news. Because once you stop believing in your own specialness as a given, you begin building genuine strength through discipline, through action, through consistency. You stop waiting for your talent to announce itself and start doing the quiet work that actually produces results. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Soon enough, both the one who remembers and the one who is remembered will be forgotten." This is not a diminishment. It is a sobering and clarifying truth. We are small in the scale of the universe. And because we are, every honest act, every disciplined day, every genuine kindness has meaning. Not because the world will remember it, but because it shapes who you are. You are not special by default. Become remarkable through effort. That is the only version worth building. 10. Most people value you mainly while you are useful. This one is uncomfortable to hold, but it is one of the most clarifying truths available. People often evaluate others not by who they are, but by what they can provide. Your usefulness, your connections, your help, your time, your skills, frequently matters more than your inner life. Think about your own relationships with honest eyes. How many people have shown up fully when you needed something, and quietly faded when you no longer had something to offer? This is not rare. This is the common human pattern. The Stoics did not advise bitterness about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be angry when a person acts according to their nature, and the nature of many is to seek advantage." Understanding this is not cynicism. It is the tool that helps you distinguish between genuine connection and conditional proximity. Build relationships not on the expectation of eternal loyalty, but on your own principles. Help people because you chose to, not because you are counting on their permanent gratitude in return. And invest your deepest trust in the few who stay present even when there is nothing to gain. Seneca wrote, "The one who values you for your usefulness is not a friend. They are an employer." True friendship and love begin where usefulness ends. Become that kind of person for others, the one who stays when there is no benefit in staying. You will be rare, and you will attract the same. 11. Happiness and sadness are both temporary. How many times have you thought, "I am finally happy. I want this to last forever"? And how many times have you thought, "This pain will never end"? In both cases, you were wrong, because neither happiness nor sadness is permanent. They come and go like waves. The Stoics reminded themselves, do not identify with your emotional states. They are like the weather. Today clear, tomorrow a storm. But no storm lasts forever, and no sunshine shines without interruption. When you accept this, you stop being enslaved by your own moods. Think of your life, of when you achieved something you had waited for, the elation was real. But how long did it last? Days, maybe a week. And then new challenges rose on the horizon. Or the opposite. When you lost someone or something that mattered deeply, the pain felt unbearable. But time moved on, and the heart slowly found its way back. This is the law of change. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All things pass, what brings joy and what brings pain. Do not cling to either." This is not coldness, this is freedom. When you know that both joy and difficulty are temporary, you move through any state with greater steadiness. The next time you are in genuine happiness, enjoy it fully, but do not grip it. The next time you are in real pain, feel it, but know it too will pass. Say to yourself, "This too shall pass." These 4 words are one of the quietest and most powerful practices a Stoic can carry. 12. Your health is not guaranteed. We take the body for granted in a way that, looking back, seems almost impossible. Waking up, standing, moving, thinking. These things feel so ordinary that we rarely notice them at all, until something changes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you kiss your child or a dear friend, remind yourself that they are mortal." This may sound dark, but it generates something important, a deep, present clarity. Because when you truly feel the fragility of the body, you stop treating the ordinary as ordinary. Think of those who have passed through serious illness. Almost universally, they say the same thing. I began to appreciate the simplest things: breathing, walking, tasting food. Why do we wait for loss to understand the value of what we have? The Stoic practice is to not wait, to acknowledge it daily. A body that can move is a gift. A mind that can think is a gift. A day without pain is a gift. This acknowledgement does not produce despair. It produces presence. Care for the body, not as an obligation, but as an expression of genuine respect for the life you have been given. Exercise. Eat with intention. Rest. These are not luxuries. They are responsibilities to yourself. 13. Complaints change nothing. It seems like complaining should help, like if you express how difficult something is, some pressure gets released. But the truth is that no complaint has ever solved a problem. It does not improve the situation, it only amplifies it. The Stoics saw complaints as a pure waste of energy. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. When we complain, we live the pain twice, first in the event, then again in the words. We multiply our suffering instead of reducing it." Think about any situation. You had a hard day and started talking about everything that went wrong. Did anything change in the substance of the problem? No. But your energy and your mood emptied out. Complaining creates the illusion of action, while actually being the refusal to act. The Stoic principle is direct. Replace the complaint with a question. Can I change this? If yes, take a step, however small. If no, accept it. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. If something can be changed, change it. If not, do not spend your strength on grief. There are people who lose their jobs and spend years complaining that the system is unfair. And there are people who also lose their jobs, and instead of complaining, they start something new, develop a new skill, find a different direction. The first group stays frozen in the past. The second group builds the future. The next time you feel the pull to complain, pause and ask, will this make anything better? If the answer is no, replace it. Even the smallest forward step is worth more than 1,000 repetitions of, "This is hard." Silence, when you want to complain, is a form of self-discipline. And self-discipline is how the Stoic holds their ground. 14. You are replaceable at work. Many people dedicate most of their lives to a job, quietly believing that without them, everything would stop. We convince ourselves, "I am irreplaceable." But the truth is that no employee is irreplaceable. If you left tomorrow, someone else would take your position. The systems would adapt. The team would continue. This sounds harsh, but it is simply how organizations work. Companies pursue outcomes, not individual people. You could work for years with genuine commitment, and if you were gone next week, Within a month, the workflows would have adjusted. The Stoics taught, do not confuse your real worth with your role in a system. You are not your job title. Your life is larger than any contract or position. The person who builds their entire identity on their professional role is setting themselves up for a deep reckoning, because that role is temporary. This does not mean loyalty is worthless. It means that your first loyalty must be to yourself, to your health, your development, your relationships, your meaning. Work honestly. Give your genuine best. But do not give your whole soul to something that would replace you efficiently. Seneca wrote, life is short, but we make it even shorter by spending it in service of other people's goals. This is not a call to laziness. It is a reminder that work is one part of a life, not the life itself. When you understand this, you stop building your identity on an institution that was never built around you. You build it on yourself. And then, even without the title, even without the position, you are still whole. 15. Most people choose adaptation over their actual dreams. Look honestly at the world around you. Most people are not living the life they once imagined. They adapted. They chose safety over risk, stability over searching, compromise over truth. Why? Because it is easier. Because that is what everyone else does. The Stoics saw this tendency in human nature clearly. Epictetus said, do not deceive yourself. The easy path is always appealing, but it does not lead to freedom. The person who chooses adaptation may appear calm, but inside something slowly dims. Because choosing not to pursue what genuinely matters is, in a quiet way, choosing against yourself. Think of the familiar examples. Someone who wanted to write, but took the office job because it was more reliable. Someone who wanted to travel, to create, to build their own path, but stayed because it was safer. With each passing year, those rational decisions accumulate into something heavier: regret. The Stoic wisdom is not reckless. It does not say to abandon all security overnight. It says, live with honesty. That means asking yourself, where have I adapted away from something I genuinely wanted? Where did I trade my truth for someone else's comfort? And then taking one step in the direction of what actually matters to you. Not a dramatic break, a genuine movement. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is a life lived without trying. The person who pursued their dream and fell tried. The person who never took the risk lived in a cage they built themselves. So make a different choice. You can live honestly, even if it is harder. Real freedom is not found in convenience. It is found in fidelity to yourself. And that is where Stoic strength is born. Dear viewers, if this video gave you something worth keeping, subscribe to the channel, like, and turn on the bell so you never miss what is coming. Share your thoughts in the comments. I am always glad to hear from you. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next one. Somewhere deep inside you there is a strength, a quiet, steady force that allows you to act with confidence, think with clarity, and move through life with a sense of inner certainty. But almost always, that strength gets buried under doubt, under hesitation, under the weight of everything you were told you couldn't do. You were not born insecure. Your self-doubt was learned. It came from the harsh words you heard growing up, from criticism, from failure, from unfair comparisons that accumulated slowly over years. And because it was learned, it can be unlearned. Because Stoicism teaches us this: any mind can be trained. Any mind can be taught to believe in itself again. Think about what your life would look like if you could act with total confidence, without fear of making a mistake, without needing approval from anyone, without sabotaging yourself before you even begin. What would you dare to decide? What would you finally allow yourself to pursue? Self-doubt does not disappear by waiting it out. It weakens when you begin to act. And today, I want to share with you 10 simple but deeply powerful Stoic practices that will help you dismantle self-doubt, restore clarity, and reconnect with the strength that was always yours. It doesn't matter how long you've felt lost. You have the capacity to take back control of your own mind. And the first step begins right now. Before we go further, I want you to write something in the comments. Not after the video, but right now, as a declaration. Today, I choose to trust myself. Even if fear is screaming, even if doubt is loud. That decision becomes the beginning of a new path. One where your actions are no longer guided by uncertainty, but by confidence, clarity, and the deep knowledge of your own capability. Now let's begin. 1. Stop trying to be perfect. How many times have you not started something because you didn't feel ready? How many times have you been completely paralyzed by the fear of doing it wrong, of making a mistake, of being judged, of falling short? You are not alone. Most people confuse perfectionism with high standards. But perfectionism is not a standard. It is a trap. It disguises itself as ambition. But underneath, it is fear wearing a mask. Epictetus did not care about flawlessness. He asked only, "Did you move forward?" Because it is progress that carries us forward, not the impossible pursuit of perfection. Perfectionism is not discipline. Perfectionism is the fear of being seen as imperfect, dressed up in the language of excellence. You want to do things so well that you end up doing nothing at all. You wait for the perfect moment, and while you wait, life moves on without you. The more you try to appear flawless, the further you move from who you actually are, because no one is flawless. As the Stoics understood it, only something unchanging and eternal could be called truly perfect. You are human. You learn, you stumble, you correct course, you grow. Perfection demands appearances. Progress demands courage. Consider how much energy perfectionism steals from you. You start something straightforward, and it takes twice as long as it should. You postpone what matters because it isn't quite right yet. You never show your results because they could be better. And in the end, the world never gets to see what you're truly capable of. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you never let yourself try. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not wait for Plato's ideal republic. Be content with even the smallest progress and consider nothing too minor." What transforms you is not perfection. It is the act of doing something. It is the finished thing. It is the work that took courage, even when you were full of doubt. And here is something worth noticing. When you demand perfection of yourself, you begin to demand it of others too. Disappointment creeps in. Comparison follows. But life is not a performance stage. It is a process. Stop, breathe, and ask yourself honestly, am I pursuing genuine growth, or am I simply trying to appear perfect? Because if it is only about appearances, you will remain exactly where you are. But if it is about real progress, even messy, imperfect progress, you will move forward. And that is already a victory. Today's practice is simple but powerful. Release the impossible standard. Do what you can and improve from what is done. That is the path of true growth. That is where genuine confidence is built. From action, not from illusion. If this idea landed with you, write in the comments. Today, I choose progress over perfection. Because every time you act, even with fear in your chest, you send your own mind a signal. I can be counted on. And that kind of confidence is worth more than any version of perfect. 2. Remember the urgency of life and start truly living. This sounds heavy at first, but it is one of the most liberating ideas in all of Stoicism. Memento mori, live fully now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not a threat. It is a call to wakefulness. It is the reminder that time does not wait, and that the self-doubt paralyzing you today could dissolve completely once you remember how brief life actually is. Most of our anxieties are born from illusions, from fear of what others will say, from shame, from a constant suspicion that we are somehow not enough. But when you remember how short life truly is, those illusions begin to lose their grip. You start to see clearly. None of this matters as much as you believed. You are not here to collect fears. You are here to live with courage. Epictetus said, "Think of what truly matters, not to frighten yourself, but to remind yourself of what deserves your attention." The awareness of life's brevity walks beside you not as a shadow, but as a compass. Because in 100 years, no one will remember that you stumbled through a presentation, or that you hesitated at the wrong moment. But you, even if only near the end, will realize how many moments you missed because you were too afraid of being imperfect. How many dreams you delayed. How many times you quietly let go of something you wanted because you were afraid to try. You were born with a limited amount of time. And every time you choose fear, you are choosing to survive instead of live. This is not about dwelling on endings. It is about urgency. It is about waking up before it is too late. Try this simple Stoic exercise. Place your fears next to time. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? In most cases, the answer is no. And that is freedom. Most of your fears are just smoke. The real fire of life demands action, now even with the fear still present. The practice. Every single day, do at least one thing that aligns with who you truly are. It can be something simple. Say thank you to someone. Turn away from a habit that no longer serves you. Take one step toward a project that has been waiting. But do it, because real life happens when you move, not when you wait. In the spirit of Seneca, we are not promised tomorrow. What we have is now. Start living it. Write in the comments, "Today, I live with courage." But more important than writing it is living it, as if every hour carries weight. Because it does. When you begin to value your time, doubt begins to shrink, and your life begins to take on the meaning it always deserved. 3. Accept change before it breaks you. Change does not ask permission. It arrives without warning, overturns everything, strips away certainty, dismantles the familiar, and sometimes breaks your heart in ways you were not prepared for. But here is the truth. What hurts is not the change itself. What hurts is our unwillingness to accept it. Seneca wrote, "While I speak of change, I have already changed. Nothing we see remains the same." He added the image of the river. You cannot step into the same river twice, because the river is already different, and so are you. And yet, even knowing this, we cling. We hold on to jobs that no longer inspire us, to relationships that have lost their connection, to old images of who we were, as if the past could somehow protect us from the present. But it cannot. Life does not stop moving. And the more you resist, the harder it pulls. Self-doubt does not come from newness. It comes from the refusal to release the old. It feeds on the fear of losing control, even though in truth, we never had full control to begin with. The Stoics did not fear change. They studied it, accepted it, and understood it. Everything passes. The body, status, relationships, memory. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All things pass, the one who remembers, and the things that are remembered." And yet we desperately want stability, as if stability was safety. But often it is that very craving for stability that keeps us trapped, paralyzed, exhausted, silently in pain. When someone leaves, when something ends, when life changes direction, you have two paths. You can resist and suffer, or you can accept and grow. The Stoics described our relationship with change through a vivid image. We are like a dog tied to a moving cart. The cart is life, and it will keep moving, with us or without us. The dog has two choices: walk alongside it or resist and be dragged. The choice is there, but the movement is not. The more we fight what we cannot control, the more it costs us. But when we accept, when we move with the current of the inevitable, we remain whole. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the understanding that every change carries an invitation to evolve, to release what no longer belongs to you, to adapt, and to begin again with greater awareness. You can look at a loss and see only emptiness, or you can look again, more calmly, and notice the space that has opened up, and the new life that is ready to begin inside it. Yes, it is hard. Sometimes it hurts so deeply that you feel like you are breaking apart. But even then, you can choose to keep moving. So instead of resisting the inevitable, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Which part of me needs to change along with the world around me? Try this practice. Look at one area of your life where you are still holding on, a relationship that no longer nourishes you, a plan that has lost its meaning, a version of yourself that no longer fits. Let it go. Understand that releasing is not weakness, it is maturity. And acceptance is the first step toward turning an ending into a new beginning. Move with the current of change, not against it, because the one who accepts the flow of life does not lose control. They gain freedom. And where there is freedom, strength follows. Because nothing builds an unbreakable person quite like the courage to keep going, even when everything around them is shifting. 4. Make self-mastery the foundation of your freedom. Have you ever noticed that the thing standing most in your way is not the world? It is your own reaction to the world. It is not others who unsettle you. It is your response. Not the unexpected event that ruins the day, but the degree to which you let it affect you. Stoicism teaches real strength begins when you learn to govern yourself. That is self-mastery. And self-mastery is not coldness. It is not rigidity. It is clarity. It is the deep understanding that not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every emotion deserves a performance. Not every impulse should become an action. Seneca wrote, "Remove from yourself the part that disappoints you. Focus on what you can govern." And you know what disappoints most? When you let yourself down. When you react to something small as if the world were ending. When you spend money you did not have. When you say something you should not have said. When you send the wrong thoughts spinning through your mind until they pull you under. Self-mastery is the space between a trigger and a response. It is the moment you choose to act not as a victim of circumstance, but as someone who is in command of their own life. When you feel envy, catch it, breathe, and turn it into gratitude. When you feel anger, see it clearly, channel it, and respond with dignity rather than force. When you feel anxiety, name it, breathe through it, and return to the present, step by step. You do not need to be a machine, but you are also not obligated to be a prisoner of your own impulses. Self-mastery is what happens when you begin to use the mind as a tool rather than fighting it as an enemy. It is training the pause before reaction, the breath before the word, the awareness before the choice. Here is a straightforward Stoic exercise for today. Observe your triggers, not to punish yourself, but to understand yourself. What pulls you off balance? What sends you into autopilot mode? See it. Name it. Choose a different response. That is how genuine strength grows, through the daily decision not to surrender to chaos, whether it is happening outside or within. Self-mastery is a practice. And every single time you hold steady, even when everything inside you is surging, you send yourself one powerful message. I am not a puppet of my emotions. I am the one who decides. Real confidence is born from this, from knowing you can rely on yourself, not only in peaceful moments, but when everything around you is falling apart and you remain standing. 5. You have the power to change what you believe. You can work hard, dress well, study relentlessly, and improve your skills every day. But if somewhere deep inside you carry a limiting belief about who you are, everything becomes twice as difficult. It is like trying to run with a heavy chain around your ankle. You push forward, you try, but you barely move. Maybe someone once told you that you were slow, lazy, weak, or incapable. Maybe a single failure convinced you it was safer to never try again. Maybe you do not even remember when it happened, but your mind still responds as if it is true. Those voices from the past do not shout, they whisper. And the most dangerous thing is this: somewhere along the way, you believed them. Epictetus said, "It is not the events themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those events." Which means the issue is not what happened to you. The issue is what you decided to believe after it happened. Beliefs are not just thoughts. They are roots. They grow deep, shape your reality, and influence everything you see, feel, and choose. And if those roots are rotten, life grows crooked, filled with fear, loaded with self-sabotage. That is why today I want to tell you clearly, you have the power to rewrite your own story. The Stoics did not teach you to run from pain. They taught you to look at it honestly, to challenge the voice that says, you cannot, to question the story that insists, you always fail, to examine the belief that whispers, you are not capable of this. Because it does not matter who planted those seeds, a teacher, a parent, a careless moment in childhood. What matters is this: you are no longer required to carry them. As long as you do not question these beliefs, you stay trapped inside an older version of yourself. You have already changed. But your mind is still acting as if you are that child who was never accepted, that teenager who was afraid to speak, that adult who kept doubting their worth. Real transformation begins when you stop saying, this is just who I am, and start saying, I can be someone different. The mind that once worked against you can become your greatest ally. But to get there, you must stop treating every thought as truth, every fear as fate, and every criticism as a final verdict. Your thoughts need a filter, not blind obedience. A thought is not a command. It is only a suggestion. And you have the right to say, I no longer accept this. Today's practice is direct. Listen to your automatic phrases. And every time you hear, I can't, I'm not capable, that's not for me, stop, breathe, and respond. That's an old thought. I can choose a different one. Write in the comments, today, I choose to believe in myself. Let that phrase become your new standard. Because the one who changes their beliefs changes their possibilities. And the one who changes their possibilities changes the course of their life. 6. Focus only on what is yours to control and release everything else. You do not feel uncertain because you are weak. You feel uncertain because you are trying to govern things that were never yours to govern. You try to predict how others will behave. You want to know in advance how everything will turn out. You want to arrange events perfectly. And when that does not happen, everything collapses. But perhaps this is not weakness. Perhaps it is simply a lack of clarity about where your responsibility ends and where the world begins. Epictetus reminded his students every single day, some things depend on us and some things do not. This is the dichotomy of control, a simple, liberating truth at the very center of Stoic philosophy. You cannot govern what other people think of you. You cannot guarantee outcomes. You cannot control life itself. But you have something far more valuable: authority over your own decisions, your own actions, and your own character. Self-doubt appears when you forget this, when you exhaust yourself trying to please everyone, predict everything, hold everything in place, and then end up crushed when life does not match your expectations. Here is an example. You are preparing for a job interview. Instead of focusing on your preparation, on what you have to offer, you spend the entire night asking, what will they think of me? Will they choose me? Will my experience impress them? But none of that is in your control. What is in your hands? How you show up, your presence, your honesty, your steadiness, and that is already enough. Or another example. You pour yourself into your work, beyond what is required, and wait for recognition, for acknowledgement, for something to confirm that it mattered. But your sense of worth suddenly depends on someone who may not have even noticed. And you forget to ask yourself, do I see my own value? Would I have done this work even if no one was watching? Seneca wrote, "True equanimity is born when you focus on your own actions, not on the reactions of others. When you do what is right simply because it is right, a strength appears inside you that no one can take away. Accepting the dichotomy of control is not easy. But this is precisely the line between anxiety and peace. Because when you know you have done everything you could, you can rest, even if the world did not respond the way you hoped. That is not indifference. That is wisdom. Today's practice. The next time you feel uncertain, pause and ask yourself, does this depend on me? If yes, act decisively. If no, release it. Breathe. Return to yourself. Because every time you focus on what is within your control, you plant peace. And every time you release what is not yours, you harvest freedom. 7. Know yourself. It changes everything. Stoicism is not just a philosophy. It is a practice, a discipline, a path. Inward. At its heart is self-knowledge. The Stoics did not study philosophy to appear wise. They reflected on themselves in order to become aware, because they understood that the greatest power a person holds is not external achievement. It is the understanding of who they truly are. You can conquer the entire world. But if you do not know who is making your decisions, then everything can collapse at the first criticism, the first empty compliment, the first moment of self-doubt. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And it is true. Most of our fears do not live outside us. They live in the mind, in how we interpret events, in how we perceive what happens to us. Self-knowledge is not a luxury. It is an emotional necessity. The person who does not know themselves reacts blindly. The person who knows themselves chooses consciously. And that difference changes everything. Self-knowledge is not achieved through sitting quietly in meditation, waiting for revelation. It demands the courage to look inside. It requires radical honesty. Not blame, but inquiry. What in me still allows this to happen? What pattern keeps showing up? Here is what self-knowledge often reveals. Behind anger, there is usually fear. Behind procrastination, there is often perfectionism. Behind anxiety, there is frequently the need to control everything. None of this is revealed in a single evening. It is a path built through presence, through watching your reactions, reflecting on patterns, sitting with the questions that are uncomfortable but ultimately freeing. Stoicism is a mirror. It makes you look. And at first, what you see may not please you. But that is precisely where transformation begins, because you can only change what you have first understood. When you begin to see clearly what drives you, what blocks you, what causes you to explode or retreat, you gain power. The power to act with intention, to respond with calm, to hold your position with dignity. Not from impulse, but from awareness. So stop searching for answers outside yourself. Learn to listen to what is happening within. Watch what causes you pain and what brings you peace. Notice what makes you hide your true self. With every discovery, you become more solid. With every truth you accept, you become more free. If this section moved something in you, write in the comments, "Today I choose to know myself with courage," because the better you know yourself, the less you have to pretend. And the more truth you carry inside, the less the world can shake you. 8. Your mind believes what you keep telling it. Have you ever stopped to listen to what you say to yourself every day? Not out loud, but in that quiet place inside, where thoughts run without permission. That voice shows up after a mistake. You failed again. You never get anything right. Nothing ever works out for you. And do you know what the most dangerous part of that is? Not the mistake itself, but how you treat yourself after it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What you think of yourself matters far more than what others think." And this is not simply a beautiful idea. It is a matter of emotional survival. Because the way you speak to yourself determines how you live. If your mind is a battlefield, then even in moments of peace, you are living under tension. If your mind is a courtroom, you are perpetually on trial, in front of yourself. But if your mind becomes a home, a safe place, everything changes. You no longer need to run. You no longer need to hide. You move through life with a settled confidence, knowing that whatever happens, there is a secure place inside you that nothing can reach. So begin replacing self-criticism with self-support. Instead of "I ruined everything again," say, "I made a mistake, and I can learn from it." Instead of "Nothing ever works for me," say, "This is difficult, but I am not giving up." This is not self-deception. This is emotional intelligence. This is choosing to hold the wheel of your inner voice, rather than allowing negative thoughts to drive you wherever they want. There is also a powerful antidote to self-diminishment: genuine gratitude. Not the automatic, performative gratitude written on social media at the end of the year, but real gratitude, deeply felt. Gratitude for the food you had today, for the roof over your head, for the body still carrying you, for the quiet victories nobody saw, but which kept you standing. When you begin to give thanks, even while in pain, your mind shifts its focus. You stop staring at what is missing and start noticing what already exists. You stop fixating on the hurt and begin to see what holds you together. This calms, strengthens, and changes you. Here is one more important practice. Challenge the negative thoughts directly. Ask yourself, is this voice mine? Or is this something I was taught to do to myself? Is what I am thinking right now a fact? Or is it just fear disguised as certainty? Most of the thoughts that undermine us are not facts. They are interpretations. And when you start questioning them, you start becoming free. But do not expect perfection here either. You will still stumble. You will still have days when the self-criticism returns. What matters is catching it earlier each time, and returning to yourself with kindness, with awareness, with the understanding that you are in the middle of becoming someone stronger. Write in the comments, "Today I choose to be my own source of support." Because at the end of the day, the most important voice you will ever hear is your own. And when that voice becomes an ally, nothing in the world can break you from within. 9. Step outside your familiar boundaries, because that is where confidence lives. At first, a comfort zone feels like home. It feels warm, familiar, safe. It offers the illusion of control. But over time, that shelter begins to press in on you. What was once convenience becomes limitation. The container that once held you now confines you. Stoicism teaches growth does not happen inside the predictable. Marcus Aurelius wrote that life demands action, not guarantees. But we keep waiting for the perfect moment, for the green light, for the absolute certainty that never comes. Here is the truth. Your familiar space is not made of peace. It is made of repetition. And repetition without intention is stagnation. You wake up, you work, you respond, you survive. But the soul stays still. You want change, but resist the discomfort. You want to be stronger, but avoid what challenges you. You want to overcome self-doubt, but refuse to leave the familiar. Epictetus said, "Habit is a tyrant that disguises itself as routine. And every habit that overcautiously protects you is also quietly limiting you." Stepping beyond what is familiar does not mean doing something reckless. It means doing something different. Saying what you always kept quiet. Trying what you keep postponing. Placing yourself in a situation that the old version of you would never have dared to enter. Research suggests that every time you do something new, even something tiny, the brain records. This is possible. Gradually, what used to frighten you becomes familiar. What seemed impossible becomes ordinary. What was once a source of fear becomes the foundation for growth. Want to know the real path past self-doubt? Stop hiding. Test yourself. Step forward with the fear present, and come back with a new story. Make a mistake, learn from it, and try again, this time with a little more confidence. Do this today, and tomorrow, and the day after, until the new no longer frightens you, but begins to expand you. Today's practice is simple. Choose one small thing that lies just beyond your usual boundary. Have a conversation you have been avoiding. Speak your opinion in a room where you usually stay quiet. Share an idea you have been holding back. Take a different route home. It does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be different. Every small step into the unfamiliar is a large step toward genuine confidence in yourself. 10. Begin building your own path. There comes a moment when you must stop waiting for permission and start building from within. A moment when, even with fear present, even with doubts circling, even on the heaviest days, you choose to move forward anyway. Because the confidence you have been searching for outside of yourself is not found out there. It is built step by step in the quiet places, through the choices no one else sees. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is something bearable, then bear it. Stop complaining." And these words are not cruelty. They are freedom. They remind you, you are far stronger than you imagine. Inside you is a strength the world has not yet seen, and only you can awaken it. This is not about living for applause. It is about living with meaning. Your life is not a competition. It is not a performance stage where you earn your right to exist. It is a path. And it begins to take shape only when you stop being distracted by what others expect of you and start honoring what you expect of yourself. You do not need to accomplish everything today. You do not need to solve your entire life in a week. But you must begin with one gesture, one habit, one decision, one step taken with intention. Stoicism is not just a beautiful theory. It is a demanding practice. It is getting up with what you have, acting even when you are afraid, rebuilding yourself with dignity after something breaks you down, waking up tomorrow and taking the step again, even if no one is watching. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to evolve, to build stone by stone a life that reflects your true worth. And every small action that aligns with that, even when no one sees it, is already a victory. So today, take a step with intention, not to impress anyone, but to honor the person you are becoming. Write in the comments, "Today I am building my path with confidence." And remember, you do not need to move fast. You just need to move with truth, with clarity, and with courage. Because the one who moves with meaning is already winning. Dear viewers, if this video reached something in you, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we do not treat Stoicism as theory. We practice it as a way of becoming calmer, stronger, and harder to knock off balance. Share this with someone who might need it today. And I will see you in the next one. There has almost certainly been a moment in your life, maybe more than one, when someone said the wrong thing, did something that hurt you, or simply failed to show up in the way you needed. And you lost it. You erupted. You felt something ignite inside you, a fire you did not know how to put out. And when the emotion finally settled, the realization arrived. It wasn't worth it. But by then, it was already too late. You had already lost your inner peace. You had already reacted. You had already stepped into the trap. Why do we keep allowing this to happen? Why do we keep giving other people's words and actions the power to pull us out of our own center? Why does the external keep taking control of the internal? In this video, I am not going to hand you a magic formula, but I will share a key with you. A powerful truth that, if you truly integrate it into your life, can change everything. Because there is a way to live so that nothing and no one has the power to rob you of your peace. Not because you stop feeling, but because you learn not to react blindly. Not because you become indifferent, but because you develop genuine command of yourself. Today we are going to explore the Stoic path, not as an ancient theory gathering dust, but as a practical tool for the pressures of modern life. Because it is possible to live without being constantly irritated by what you cannot control. The world will remain exactly as it is, but it will no longer be able to knock you over. Stay until the end of this video, because today you are going to learn something that most people namaste never figure out. How to make your inner peace truly independent of what others do. Right now, I want you to do one simple thing. Write in the comments, "I choose to reclaim my inner strength, and I will never give it away again." This is not just an interaction. This is an action you are taking for yourself. Because when you write it, you are planting a seed in your own consciousness. You are beginning to reprogram how you respond. That phrase, reinforced and repeated, will settle into your subconscious. And when the right moment comes, it will be your anchor. Now, let's begin. 1. Other people act according to their own nature, not yours. One of the deepest sources of frustration is not the behavior of others itself. It is the expectation that they will think, feel, and respond exactly the way you do. Every person has been shaped by their own history, their own wounds, their own beliefs, and their very limited understanding of the world. You cannot demand that someone who has never worked on themselves act with wisdom. You cannot expect that someone living in noise will respond to you with silence. That is an illusion. The mistake is assuming that others are obligated to operate by your standards. Because in reality, everyone acts from their current level of awareness. And once you truly understand that, you stop taking personally what was never personal in the first place. You free yourself from the exhausting burden of expecting a fair, measured, or rational response from someone who simply has not learned to give one yet. Anger rises when we want the world to run according to our rules. But peace arrives when we accept that it never will. Your peace cannot depend on what someone else says or does. If a person acts from ignorance, respond with compassion. If they act aggressively, keep your distance, but under no circumstances react blindly. The wise person observes, understands, and moves on, without carrying what was never theirs to carry. When you begin to live from this understanding, you step out of the constant state of battle. You stop fighting the current and start moving with it. Real strength is not about controlling others. True strength is the ability to stop demanding that someone change for the sake of your peace. That is Stoic freedom, acting from your own nature, not as a reaction to theirs. 2. Make self-mastery your highest form of strength. Anger is a fire, but only you decide whether to feed it or extinguish it. It is an instinctive, primitive response, acting without thinking. But precisely here is where the line between a weak mind and a strong one is drawn. A weak mind surrenders to anger. A strong mind commands it. The next time something goes wrong, when someone says something cutting, when someone behaves unfairly, stop. Ask yourself, is this a genuine challenge to my character, or simply an external irritant? In that brief pause lives your real power. This is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about transforming anger into clarity. The Stoics considered self-mastery the highest expression of strength. Seneca said, "The greatest power is power over oneself." And that is not poetry. It is a daily discipline. Every time you choose calm over anger, you become more capable of holding that standard. Think about it. If someone offends you and you respond with aggression, you have handed them your power. But when you hold your composure, you demonstrate one thing with absolute clarity. You decide what you feel and how you act. That is real strength. Picture a soldier in the middle of a battle. What makes him effective is not losing control. What makes him powerful is his ability to think clearly inside the chaos. That is what you are building. Make self-mastery your shield. Allow no one to govern your inner state. Every moment you stay composed in the face of provocation is one more step along the Stoic path. Each one of those moments is forging you into something unbreakable, because the true winner is not the one who won the argument. It is the one who never lost themselves in it. Before we continue, if this video is adding something to your life, I'd appreciate your support with a like and sharing it with someone who could use it. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming. Now let's move to the third lesson. 3. Release your expectations of other people. One of the most frequent causes of anger is not the actions of others. It is the fact that they failed to meet your expectations. It disappoints you that someone didn't thank you, didn't behave as you hoped, or was simply unfair. But the truth is this: no one is obligated to live up to your expectations. Each person sees the world through the lens of their own experience, values, and beliefs. What you consider respect may mean something entirely different to someone else. Expecting others to think and act the way you do is a recipe for constant disappointment. The Stoics understood this deeply. When you release the expectation that others must behave by your standards, something shifts. You stop waiting for the world to be fair on your terms. You begin to see each person clearly, as they are, not as you need them to be. And in that space, a profound calm becomes possible. Not indifference, but clarity. Let people be what they are. Respond from your values, not from your need for them to change. That is where genuine freedom lives. 4. What you cannot change, accept. What you can change, act on. The dichotomy of control is one of the most important ideas Epictetus ever articulated. There are things that are up to us, and there are things that are not. Our opinions, our choices, our values, our effort, these belong to us. The weather, other people's moods, outcomes, the opinions of strangers, these do not. Most of our suffering comes from refusing to honor this distinction. We exhaust ourselves trying to manage what was never ours to manage. We stay awake, worrying about things outside our reach, while neglecting the one domain where we have genuine authority, ourselves. The next time you feel the pull of anxiety, ask one simple question. Is this within my control? If yes, act. Decisively, clearly now. If no, release it. Not as defeat, as wisdom. Because holding on to what you cannot control does not change it. It only drains you. Marcus Aurelius lived by this principle from the moment he rose to power as Emperor of Rome, one of the most pressured positions a human being could occupy. And he returned to this idea again and again. Focus on what is yours. Let go of what is not. This is not passivity. This is the most intelligent use of human energy that exists. 5. The quality of your attention defines the quality of your life. What you give your attention to grows. This is not metaphor, it is the observable mechanics of the mind. Where attention flows, energy follows. And where energy flows consistently, reality begins to take shape. Most people give their attention away constantly. To every notification, every opinion, every minor irritation. To worries that have not happened yet. To conversations that already ended hours ago. And in doing so, they surrender the one resource they will never get back, their focus. The Stoics were meticulous about this. They spoke of it in terms of distinguishing what is in our power from what is not. But the same principle applies to attention. You do not have to give your peace to every situation that demands it. You can choose where your mind goes. Not perfectly, not all at once, but with consistent practice, you can make your attention something deliberate rather than something that is permanently on loan to the world. Start small. The next time you feel pulled into a reaction, a hostile email, a critical comment, a difficult conversation, pause before you give it everything you have. Ask, does this deserve my full attention? Or is there a more appropriate proportion of my energy for this moment? That question alone, practiced daily, will begin to change what has access to you. 6. The highest response is often no response at all. Silence is not weakness. In the Stoic tradition, silence is one of the most disciplined forms of strength. It is the response that takes the most self-control, the most clarity, and the most genuine confidence to deliver. When someone provokes you, they are often doing exactly that, trying to provoke. They are testing whether they can destabilize you, whether you will flinch, whether your peace is actually that solid. And the most powerful reply, the one that communicates your inner strength most clearly, is often to simply not react. Not cold dismissal, not calculated indifference, but a genuine, rooted stillness. A calm that does not feel the need to defend itself, explain itself, or justify itself. This does not mean you never speak. It means you speak from choice, not from compulsion. From clarity, not from the heat of the moment. When you train yourself to respond only when it genuinely serves the situation, rather than every time you feel the impulse, you become much harder to move. And the person who is hard to move is the person who holds the most power in any room. 7. Learn to observe your emotions without being ruled by them. There is a gap between what you feel and what you do. And inside that gap lives every form of genuine freedom you will ever experience. Here is where character is tested. Here is where real inner strength either holds or gives way. You are not responsible for what rises inside you. You are responsible for what you do with it. Emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. They point to something, a value that was threatened, a fear that needs examining, a boundary that was crossed. The Stoic does not suppress the emotion. He observes it with honest curiosity. When you practice this, when you feel something strongly and yet do not immediately act from it, you develop one of the rarest capacities a human being can have. The ability to experience something fully without being controlled by it. The emotion passes through you. It does not become you. This is the practice. When something difficult arises, pause. Notice what you are feeling without rushing to explain it away or act on it. Just observe. Give the feeling space without giving it the wheel. Over time, you will notice that the intensity of emotional reactions begins to decrease. Not because you are shutting down, but because you are no longer afraid of your own inner weather. You become its witness, not its captive. 8. Develop gratitude, especially in uncomfortable moments. It is easy to feel grateful when things are going well, when the sun is out, when relationships feel smooth, when life is cooperating. But the real test of your character comes in the moments when nothing is going to plan, when you are facing disappointment, frustration, or genuine difficulty. That is precisely when gratitude stops being a pleasant feeling and becomes a true discipline. Gratitude in the Stoic sense is not just acknowledgement of good things. It is a powerful tool for finding meaning in difficulty. Rather than becoming angry or despairing over what you cannot control, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Every challenge, every discomfort carries a lesson. Something that will make you sharper, more patient, more resilient, if you choose to receive it that way. Imagine being stuck in endless traffic or receiving unfair criticism from a colleague. The first instinct may be frustration, but the Stoic perspective sees every uncomfortable moment as a perfect opportunity to practice calm, patience, and self-appraisal. Seneca said the problem is never in the difficulty itself. It is in how we respond to it that determines our peace. Rather than collapsing into the struggle, use these moments to develop the virtues that matter. Patience, humility, composure. Each time you encounter friction, ask, how do I come out of this stronger, wiser, and more grounded? When you build this kind of thinking, you begin to realize that while you cannot control circumstances, you can always govern your response to them. And gratitude, practiced in these moments, does not just bring you peace. It transforms you into someone who sees opportunity inside every obstacle. 9. Remember, your peace is a form of power. In a world where noise, speed, and urgency have become the norm, calmness has become one of the most powerful acts of resistance. Many people mistakenly believe that the one who shouts loudest or responds in anger is the one who controls the situation. But the Stoics teach something different. Genuine strength lives in calmness, not in volume. Peace is not softness. It is the deepest expression of command. When you keep your composure, when you do not allow emotions to hijack you, when you resist the impulse to react, you demonstrate something that very few people ever achieve: true mastery of yourself. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it." And the one who stays calm inside the storm gains a real advantage. Clarity of thinking, sharpness of perception, the capacity to make wise decisions when everything else is chaotic. Instead of an instinctive emotional reaction, calmness allows you to step back, assess the situation, and choose the most effective course of action. And beyond the strategic benefit, there is something else. People who remain calm command respect. The ones who lose control create chaos. But the calm person radiates something that naturally invites trust and steadiness. Your calmness is your power. In conditions of stress, the ability to preserve it places you in a position of authority that no amount of shouting can match. 10. Treat emotional mastery as a mental game and practice it daily. Anger is an automatic response, but you do not have to remain its prisoner. Imagine being able to face any provocation without losing your composure. This is not a fantasy. It is a trainable skill, and training it begins the moment you start treating emotional control not as a burden, but as a practice worth enjoying. The frame. Every difficult situation is a training session, a test of how long you can remain grounded when something pushes against you. Instead of seeing the challenge as an attack, see it as a workout. Your goal is not to avoid feeling anything. Your goal is to not allow what you feel to make your decisions for you. Every time someone criticizes you, interrupts you, or disappoints you, frame it as a test of your capacity for calm. You are not trying to win the exchange. You are trying not to lose yourself inside it. Over time, the mind begins to recognize its own triggers. The reaction time slows. The intensity decreases. You become less and less available to the people and situations that used to instantly destabilize you. The first step is understanding that how you respond to anger is always a choice, not an obligation. When someone challenges you, two paths open. You can react immediately and impulsively, or you can pause, breathe, and consciously decide not to take the bait. This practice, repeated enough, gives you power over your emotions that nothing from the outside can remove. You are not suppressing anything. You are becoming the one who decides. 11. Stay aware of how quickly life is passing. One of the foundational principles of Stoicism is the conscious recognition that life is moving fast. Every day that passes is a day that never returns. Every minute spent in anger or unnecessary conflict is a piece of you that is gone. Imagine your life as a film with a fixed runtime. Every scene spent in resentment or bitterness is a scene that could have held something worth having. Time stops for no one. Every moment is a gift, and the question worth asking regularly is whether you want to spend it on things that, in the wider arc of your life, will never have mattered. This awareness does not produce despair. It produces liberation. When you truly feel how short this is, petty irritations lose their grip. You stop spending your attention on things that do not deserve it. You start protecting your peace not as a luxury, but as the most logical use of the limited time you have. 12. Use every emotion as an opportunity to become stronger. Do not run from what you feel. Every emotion, even the most intense, even the most painful, carries a lesson and a chance to grow. Anger points to your limits. Sadness points to your attachments. Fear points to your uncertainty. You are not broken because you feel these things. You are being called to look deeper. Life does not take your peace to destroy you. It does it to forge you. If you use your emotions as mirrors, honestly without flinching, you begin to see exactly what needs to be understood, strengthened, or released. This is where the real work happens, the transformation from reaction into awareness, from anxiety into clarity. The Stoic does not suppress feelings. He works with them. Every emotion is the beginning of a path to greater wisdom, if you have the courage to face it honestly and explore it without running away. Do not complain about what you feel. Use it. If an emotion is moving you, that means there is a strength inside you that has not yet been fully awakened. Discomfort is not punishment. It is a sign that you are capable of rising higher, of choosing a more composed response, a more conscious action. Every time you do that, you become more solid, more clear, more in command of your own life. This is the alchemy of character, taking what threatens to knock you down and using it to build something unbreakable inside. If you have made it here, write in the comments, which of these lessons do you need most right now? Or simply write, true change begins inside me. I am Stoic. That tells me something important, that you are one of the people who goes all the way, that you came here to actually apply something, not just to listen. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, so YouTube knows these videos are reaching the people who need them. It helps us keep making content like this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time and attention. I will see you in the next one. And remember, your strength lives in what you choose inside yourself, not in what happens around you. Did you know that over 80% of the thoughts the average mind produces every day are negative and repetitive? This is not a coincidence. The human mind was not trained for peace. It was trained for survival. It was built to scan for threats, anticipate danger, and prepare for the worst. For thousands of years, that kept us alive. But today, it keeps many of us trapped. The good news is this: you can begin to retrain yourself, starting today. Thinking positively does not mean denying reality or forcing a smile when everything around you feels like it is collapsing. It means learning to see clearly, even when life becomes unpredictable. It means training your mind to stop surrendering to fear and to stop being carried away by chaos. The ancient Stoics understood this with remarkable precision. You cannot control what happens outside of you, but you can learn to govern what happens within. That is where real strength lives. If lately your thoughts seem to be working against you, if calm and hope feel hard to find, this video is for you. You will not hear empty optimism here. Only real tools, tested and used by philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, to restore balance, clarity, and inner strength. Together, we are going to train a mentality that is stronger, wiser, and more compassionate toward itself. And when you finish watching, you will not just know how to think more clearly, you will no longer be a prisoner of your own mind. Before we begin, I want to invite you to do one simple but powerful thing. Take a slow breath and write in the comments, "Today, I choose to think with calm." That phrase is not just a comment. It is a commitment to yourself. Every time you repeat it, you remind yourself, you have the power to choose how you think, even when life becomes difficult. That is the first Stoic practice of the day, a conscious choice of your own orientation. Write it now and stay until the end. Lesson 1. Take back control of your inner dialogue. Your mind is where everything begins. Every decision, every emotion, every victory, and every defeat. But most people live as prisoners of their own thoughts, locked inside an inner dialogue that endlessly repeats, "I can't, I'm not good enough, nothing ever works out for me." What they don't realize is that these words, though they feel like background noise, are quietly shaping their reality. The first step toward clearer thinking is not pretending to be joyful. It is taking ownership of what you say to yourself when no one is listening. The Stoics knew this deeply. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to us that wounds us. It is what we tell ourselves about what happens. That is the truth." Your mind interprets reality through the language you use to describe it. If every thought is a blow against yourself, the mind will fight against you. But if your inner words become allies, the mind will work with you. Consider this. Every phrase you silently repeat is a command to the brain. When you say, "I can't," the body obeys and gives up. When you say, "I'll try again," you activate the energy of forward movement. Transformation begins with how you speak to yourself. The Stoic method is direct. Observe, question, replace. First, observe your thoughts without judgment. Simply notice the phrases that sound like attacks against yourself. Then question their truth. Ask, "Is this a fact, or is it just a story I have been telling myself?" Finally, replace them. Not with empty affirmations, but with statements that open possibility. Instead of, "I'll never make this work," say, "I don't know yet, but I'm willing to learn." Instead of, "I'm a failure," say, "I am in the process of improving." Every word you choose is either a seed for growth or a thorn that holds you back. This is not surface-level optimism. This is mental discipline. Stoicism teaches you cannot immediately control every thought, but you can control what you do with them. You can let them run you, or you can train them to serve you. Practice this daily. When a negative thought appears, pause and replace it with something wiser, calmer, and more honest. Repeat this again and again until your mind learns who is in command. Because thinking clearly is not about closing your eyes to the dark. It is about keeping the light on, even when the world around you dims. Lesson 2. Organize your mental chaos. It is not always the world outside that exhausts you. More often, it is the noise inside your own head. Think about how many days you have ended feeling like you accomplished nothing, while thoughts ran without stopping from morning until night. That exhaustion is not from effort. It is from disorder. Your mind is overloaded with thoughts spinning in circles. Doubts, anxieties, old regrets, self-criticism. All of it creates a constant static that steals clarity, energy, and direction. Stoicism teaches the mind needs to be cleaned like a house. If you do not clear it daily, the dust builds up. A small disorder becomes total chaos. The first step toward clearer thinking is not forcing yourself into optimism. It is bringing order to what is inside. Because you cannot build peace on a scattered foundation. Here is the key truth. You cannot change what you cannot see. While thoughts stay hidden in the dark, they hold power over you. That is why the wise have always said, "A calm mind is a mind that examines itself." The simplest and most powerful tool for this is writing. Write down everything that is weighing on you. Do not edit it. Do not analyze it. Just put it on the page. The phrases you keep repeating internally, the fears you carry silently, the anxieties that keep you awake. When a thought is on paper, it is no longer a monster. It is a problem that can be examined and solved. After writing, look at what you have written from a distance. Ask, is this a fact, or is it an interpretation? That question separates the emotion from the thought, and that separation is precisely where calm begins. Make this a habit. Every morning or evening, clear your mind onto paper. Write what you feel, what you fear, what is running on repeat. Then read it back and decide, which of these thoughts deserve to come with you tomorrow, and which ones you are ready to leave behind. That is real mental clarity, a conscious choice of where to direct your energy. Stoicism is not after an empty mind. It is after a directed mind. A mind that does not react from impulse, but responds with purpose and clarity. And when you learn to organize your inner chaos, something opens. Peace does not come when everything around you is quiet. Peace comes when you yourself become the calm center within the storm. Lesson 3. Reconnect the mind and body. There is a truth that most people do not discover until the body starts screaming what the mind refuses to hear. Everything you think, you feel. Your mind and body are not separate systems. They are one. Every thought you repeat leaves a physical trace. Anxiety tightens the muscles. Sadness bends the shoulders. Worry quickens the breath. Over time, this internal noise surfaces as exhaustion, sleeplessness, low-grade illness, a reflection of a restless mind that has forgotten how to settle. Stoicism teaches, real strength is not in enduring everything. It is in learning to listen to yourself carefully. Your body is a quiet signal that tells you when your thoughts have gone the wrong way. So every time you feel tension in your neck, tightness in your shoulders, or that familiar knot in the stomach, do not ignore it. Stop and ask, is what I am thinking right now helping me or hurting me? That simple question is Stoic self-awareness in practice. Because the wise person does not act from impulse, they observe. And in that observing, they return to themselves. Positive thinking is not just about the right words. It is about regulating your inner energy. When you change the way you think, your breathing changes. When your breathing becomes intentional, the body receives a signal: I am safe. And in that moment, the chaos settles, and something like peace appears. Move every day. When you feel overwhelmed, stop. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath. Feel the air come in, and let it go. Do not try to immediately fix anything. Simply observe what is happening inside. And you will notice the thoughts beginning to slow. The body begins to release the tension it was holding. That is the connection that needs to be restored. A calm mind creates a calm body. A tense body keeps the mind in agitation. So if you want to govern your thoughts, start by listening to the signals your body is sending. Do not fight what you feel. Try to understand what it is telling you. Sometimes the body does not need medicine. It needs kinder thoughts. Lesson 4. Shape your mental environment. Your mind is like a garden. Everything that enters it, words, images, conversations, ideas, becomes a seed. Some grow into calm, strength, and clarity. Others grow into doubt, noise, and fear. And while you cannot control the weather in the world, you have complete authority over what you choose to cultivate inside yourself. The problem is that most people live surrounded by an environment that quietly drains their mental resources, and they do not notice it happening. You surround yourself with people who complain constantly. You consume content that feeds fear. You spend hours in conversations that go nowhere and leave you feeling hollow. And gradually, almost invisibly, your mind becomes a reflection of the external chaos you absorb. This does not mean you are weak. It means your environment is programming your thoughts. If you hear negativity every day, your mind will start to believe the world is hostile. If cynicism is the air around you, you will lose faith in effort. So the first principle is simple but profound. Protect your mental environment the same way you would protect your home. You would not let just anyone walk in and leave garbage in your house. Why do you allow any thought, any person, or any piece of content to do the same to your mind? Be selective about what you consume. Notice which conversations lift you and which leave you empty. This is not selfishness, it is mental discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person's life is what their thoughts make it. But those thoughts do not arise from nowhere. They are born from what you surround yourself with." The second step, choose your mental diet as carefully as you choose what you put on your plate. A poor physical diet weakens the body. A poor mental diet weakens your peace. Seek ideas that inspire growth rather than resignation. Seek company that challenges you toward wisdom rather than dragging you down. The third step, create spaces of silence. In a world overloaded with noise, silence is an act of resistance. Turn the phone off. Breathe. Observe your thoughts. It is in silence that the soul finds its balance again. The modern Stoic understands the environment is not only what is outside, it is also what is inside. When you clear your inner space, even external chaos loses its grip on you. Lesson 5. Your physical posture shapes your mental state. Your body speaks before your words do. Every movement, every breath, every gesture sends a signal to your mind. And more powerfully than that, it does not only reflect your emotions, it actually creates them. Hunched shoulders, eyes cast downward, shallow breathing. These are the signals your body sends to your brain, confirming a particular story. I am tired. I am defeated. I cannot do this. And when that story repeats itself again and again, it becomes what you believe. Many people try to change their thinking while leaving the body in the same language of defeat. But you cannot think with clarity when your posture is holding you in a state of discouragement. Stoicism reminds us of a foundational truth. The mind is trained through the body, just as the body is trained through the mind. They are one unified system. You cannot master your mind if the body has already surrendered. The principle is clear. Your body is an anchor for your mind. Before trying to change your thoughts, change your posture. Straighten your spine. Lift your chin. Open your chest. Breathe deeply and feel the air fill your lungs. Feel how the body returns to presence. This simple act is an expression of inner ownership. It is a way of saying to yourself, I am here, I am standing, I am in command. You do not need to wait until you feel confident to hold a strong posture. Take the strong posture, and the confidence will begin to grow from it. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius trained his body daily, not out of vanity, but because he understood that the mind lives inside the body, and an undisciplined body pulls the mind into chaos. Your body can become your greatest ally or your most subtle saboteur. Every time anxiety or doubt overtakes you, the body records it. Tense shoulders, a clenched jaw, breath that shortens. These are not inconveniences, they are clues. Here is the practice. Each time fear or uncertainty rises, stop, breathe, and observe your posture. Ask yourself, does my body right now reflect the person I want to be, or the person I am afraid of becoming? Then, correct it. Do not wait until you feel good to act powerfully. Act powerfully precisely when you least want to, because those are the moments when the real training of the mind happens. Lesson 6. Train your mind for positive focus. Your mind is like a muscle. If you do not train it, it weakens. If you do not direct it, it scatters. If you do not teach it, it becomes a victim of fear, of doubt, of whatever noise is loudest. Clearer, more constructive thinking does not arrive by accident. It is the result of consistent mental training. Just as the body grows stronger through physical discipline, the mind grows clearer through mental practice. The problem is that many people want to change their lives without changing their thinking. They want new results, but bring the same consciousness that produced their current situation. Stoicism teaches, you cannot control what will happen to you, but you can choose how to think about it. That is your greatest power. Every thought you feed is like a seed. Feed fear, harvest anxiety. Feed gratitude, harvest peace. The key is mental vigilance. Do not allow any thought to enter your mind unchallenged. When a negative thought appears, do not push it away with force. Observe it calmly and replace it with a wiser question. What can I learn from this? The principle is simple but profound. The mind is shaped not by intentions, but by repetition. It is not enough to want to think more clearly. You have to practice it. And that practice happens in ordinary life, in the moments when things go wrong. When something does not work, there are two paths: fall back into the old pattern of complaint, or apply a new response. calm, considered, deliberate. Every time you choose calm, you strengthen the mind. Every time you choose complaint, you weaken it. Imagine your thoughts as the paint with which you color your own perception. If you fill yourself daily with criticism, guilt, and comparison, your experience of the world grows darker. But if you consciously cultivate gratitude, courage, and purpose, your mind begins to shift in tone. This is not about denying reality or pretending everything is fine. It is about seeing the world with wisdom, with the eyes of someone who understands that even pain can be a teacher. Mental training begins with small habits. Every morning, spend 1 minute acknowledging 3 things you are grateful for, no matter how simple. At the end of each day, in quiet, recall at least 1 good thing you did, even if it feels minor. These moments are like a reset for the mind. What you repeat becomes your nature. As muscles respond to training, the mind responds to conscious practice. The Stoic truth is this: you cannot control the world, but you can control how you perceive it. And when you master that skill, no external situation can permanently disturb your balance. Lesson 7. Build yourself a mental sanctuary. There is one quiet battle that every person fights: the battle inside their own mind. You can have achievements, recognition, even love. But if your inner dialogue is a battlefield, you will always be living under tension. The problem is not what the world says about you. The problem is what you say to yourself each day. Many people look for confidence in external results. But genuine strength is born from a mind that respects itself. Without that inner self-respect, no achievement will ever be enough. Stoicism teaches the soul must be its own refuge. You cannot control other people's judgments, but you can build inside yourself a space that criticism, failure, and doubt cannot reach. That space is what we call a mental sanctuary. And to build it, you do not need temples or rituals, only inner discipline. It begins with the decision to stop speaking to yourself as an enemy and to start treating yourself as an ally. The principle is clear. You cannot be both your own torturer and your own rescuer at the same time. If you turn every mistake into a punishment, every fear into self-attack, your mind becomes a prison. But if you transform your inner voice into an honest, firm, and compassionate advisor, that space becomes a refuge, a place where you can breathe, think, and recover. The first step is observation. Listen to how you speak to yourself in difficult moments. Are you supporting yourself, or dismantling yourself? Every repeated thought becomes part of the architecture of your inner home. If you fill it with resentment, it crumbles. If you fill it with understanding, it becomes solid, full of light, and livable. This does not mean justifying your mistakes. It means learning from them without self-hatred. Because self-compassion does not weaken, it builds. The second step: set mental boundaries. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves your full presence. When the mind attacks you with fear or self-criticism, pause, breathe, and say with clarity, "This does not define me. This is a thought, not a truth." That inner distance is strength. That is Stoicism in motion. Not fighting the emotions, but governing them from a place of internal calm. Finally, maintain your mind with rituals that strengthen it. Spend a few minutes in silence each day. Write what you are feeling. Remember what you have already survived. Feed your mind with words that lift you, not ones that drag you down. One clear thought in the middle of chaos can be enough to restore your peace. For those of you looking for daily support on this path, our Telegram community offers exclusive Stoic audio content, practical insights, and over 28 hours of material in a quiet, ad-free format. Everything that does not appear on YouTube. The details are in the description. Lesson 8. Allow yourself to be happy. Most people are not unhappy because life is too difficult. They are unhappy because they have learned to feel guilty whenever something goes well. They self-sabotage without realizing it. When things begin to improve, an inner voice whispers, "You don't deserve this. You're not enough. This won't last." That voice does not come from wisdom. It comes from fear. And fear has only one goal: to keep you small, even when you were made for something larger. Many of us were raised with the belief that happiness must be earned, like a reward that comes only after enough suffering. But Stoicism reveals a different truth. Happiness is not something you chase. It is something you practice. It does not appear when everything is finally perfect. It appears when you decide to look at life without resentment, when you choose gratitude for what you have, rather than obsessive pursuit of what you lack. When you learn to release the guilt of allowing yourself to experience joy, even when others around you are struggling. The principle is simple and powerful. Happiness is an act of permission, not conquest. No one can give you the right to be happy. Only you can do that. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A person's life is what their thoughts make it. If your thoughts punish you, you live in a sentence. If your thoughts approach you with compassion, you live in freedom." The first step: stop justifying your own joy. You do not need to suffer in order to deserve rest. You do not need to be perfect in order to deserve love. You do not need to have everything figured out in order to allow yourself to smile. Start small. Give thanks without conditions. Allow yourself to feel something good without immediately bracing for it to be taken away. Do this even when your mind says it is not the right time. Because the right time will never come if you keep waiting for life to fully arrange itself to your expectations. The second step: recognize the trap of not yet. The belief that says, "I can't be happy yet because I don't have the relationship, the money, the success." This is the ego stalling. This is a way of postponing your own life. Happiness is not at the end of the road. It is in the way you walk it. The Stoics did not wait for the world to become fair before they allowed themselves to find peace. They became fair, even when the world was not. The final step: make happiness a conscious daily choice. Not as a fleeting emotion, but as a spiritual practice. This means caring for your mind like a garden, protecting your energy, choosing thoughts that lift you, surrounding yourself with people who do not extinguish your light. Being happy is not naivete. It is an act of quiet defiance. It is the courage to look into the dark and refuse to let it steal your faith. If you have made it here, something inside you has already begun to shift. You may not be able to control everything happening around you, but today you took a meaningful step toward caring for what is happening within. And that is where all real transformation begins. Before you go, I invite you once more to write in the comments, "Today I choose to think with calm." Let it be a symbolic reminder, a quiet promise to yourself, that no matter what happens outside, you always have the power to choose peace within. Dear viewers, if this video added something to your life, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you never miss a new video. Share your thoughts in the comments. I am always glad to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.